Welcome back to some new malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Bathroom Sign. I work in a small building, where, of 20 employees, there are 3 other men. The men's room has 4 urinals and 3 stalls. Plenty of room for everyone if needed. There's also a unisex executive bathroom. 2 of the other men are executives, CEO and CFO. As part of protocols, every bathroom had vacant/occupied toggle signs installed. They are on the bathroom door to the whole bathroom, not the stalls. It was, in 2020, an understandable measure to prevent exposure in a poorly ventilated enclosed space. Generally speaking, I don't use the toggle. It's a relic. Some combination of the other men do use the toggle. Switch it to occupied in their way in, and don't change it back to vacant on their way out. Our CEO, who does not use the executive bathroom for whatever reason, is also the chief executive offender. But he insists that the toggle remains due to the protocols. Whatever. Any bathroom is 95% never in use, so I go in anyway, ignoring the sign. Last week, the CEO denied a request to move to more work from home days over the summer, a period of lighter workload. It's annoying, but whatever. This week, a sign showed up inside the bathroom saying, "Make sure to flip the sign," more or less. Meaning that not only are the signs still up, but the CEO wants their use enforced, for safety reasons. And we can't work from home. I am now using the sign. Every time I've gone in the bathroom, I toggle it from occupied to vacant, and toggle it back to occupied when I leave. I hope it makes our CEO wait a few extra minutes with a full bladder. And for the extra pettiness, if the executives aren't going to use their private bathroom, I am. The next story is called Student Compliance. This happened when I was in middle school, about 2010. I live in an old rural town, not in the US. The only middle school in this town used to be a nursery. The kind where plants and trees are grown or sold, not a medical nursery. Most of the trees weren't cut down when the place became a school, and a few of them were fruit trees. 3 or 4 of them were mango trees. We kids loved taking them home by the bunches to enjoy with our families or eating them during lunch and breaks. Occasionally, some kids would try throwing rocks or sticks at the tree branches to make some mangoes fall. One of the teachers didn't like this, understandably. Throwing rocks could be dangerous, but nobody was throwing them at each other, and they were carefully looking around for any people passing by, as to not hurt anyone. The most logical thing to do would have been to forbid students from throwing things at trees, but instead, the school passed a rule that any students caught picking up mangoes, whether they are on the floor or trying to get them from the trees, would get in trouble or even face suspension. We all thought it was a dumb idea, but me and a few other students could smell the eventual disaster from a mile away. So nobody protested, and everyone at school agreed to comply, even the kids who were known to be rebellious. Well, about a month or so later, the whole school was absolutely stinking of rotten mangoes. For those of you who don't know, mango season usually peaks during early spring and late summer. Plus, in the state we are in, the rainy season hits in summer. So imagine old rotting mangoes and muddy water puddles that sit for days at a time, in the summer heat. Not a good combination of smells. The teachers by that point told us that if we see a mango in good condition to be eaten, we could pick them up. But we couldn't possibly break the new rule that was imposed by our respectable teacher. We must obey, like the good students we are. The school had to pay a cleanup crew to dump all the rubbish, and some of the parents, my mom included, complained about the wastefulness of perfectly edible fruit. The next school year, we were all enjoying delicious mango nadas, which is a mango-flavored ice pop with a spicy sweet sauce, under the lovely shade, and those good old summer breezes. The ice pops were made and sold by her classmate. The teacher that had originally started the complaints was a loyal customer. The third story is called Walmart Compliance. Years ago, I was a supervisor at Walmart. I was the best supervisor at that location. All the cashiers liked me because they all knew that I was always on their side. Be it the managers, upset customers, or even my sisters. I always had their back. One day, one of the backroom managers, who had nothing to do with my department, came up to me and handed me a paper saying that I had to talk to all the people on the list about how they are not allowed to work over their scheduled shift. The card associate, who had worked 2 hours over the day before, understood that he needed to have a talking to, but the other people on the list had only been 1 or 2 minutes over. But she was a manager, so I went to everyone and said the same thing to all of them. That I was on their side, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that this sort of thing never happens again. One of my cashiers, an older woman, started to cry when I told her that she worked 2 minutes over her shift the day before. My cashier went home crying because of what a manager who was not over the front end had me tell her. That's when I snapped. On my next shift, I made sure to shut down the registers 10 minutes before the cashier needed to clock out. Sometimes earlier if the line was long. Normally, I have to keep the 2 self-checkouts and register 13, the one with the cigarettes, open at all times. And as you all probably know, the next shift never comes in on time. So in order to comply with not having people work over their shifts, I had to shut down all the registers, including the self-checkouts, except for 13. If the cashier had to go home, I would have closed that one down too. When the manager over the front end finally came in after a week, found out she was sick, she wanted to know what happened. I explained everything. She told me that the other manager was not allowed to tell us things like that. I never saw that backroom manager up front again. The next story is called Fight Me. I was 17 at the time and was working a dishwashing job. This was in the 80s. A newish dishwasher challenged me to a fight. I didn't want to fight. I really liked my job. The pay was $3.40 an hour. I was also fed a big meal at work. This was a ballroom kind of place that did weddings, dinners and Sunday brunch. And I know it sounds oxymoronic, but dare I say, high-end buffet? I loved it. Food at home was locked up in a closet and I never got enough to eat. So work was heaven. Back in the day, pre-internet, there were lots of fights if you were a male. In my experience, you could get in a fight even if you were avoiding conflict. It just happened a bunch. Or I was just lucky. Maybe it was because I was stressed out of fashion. And my stepmother would take all my money and get me those plastic blue jeans called Toughskins. They would melt if you lit them on fire. Don't ask how I know. You would wear out your knee before you wore a hole in them. I had the dog ears glasses too. I was branded an outcast. Get off the bus and 15 people get off at your stop. A circle forms and you have to fight someone. I lost all my fights. Just a part of life. If I had magic powers, I would make bullying go away. But back in the day, no one cared. It was not physical build that cost me the fights. I think it was confidence and my conflict avoidance. At home, I was the older brother. So in all those home fights, I tried to fight at 80%. Because I didn't want to hurt my kid brother, while he would try to clobber me. I had too much empathy. Also, at home, my stepmother had this long cliff that was 10 feet tall in the backyard that had a septic field behind it that no truck could drive on. Thus, I spent my days with a shovel and a wheelbarrow, moving dirt even in the rain to turn this cliff into a gentle slope for my stepmother's epic dream flower bed. I had the arms and upper body strength, despite not being on a sports team. I told the new dishwasher I didn't want to fight. He, therefore, called me names and said I was afraid and so on. I ignored him. This continued for a month. It was the theme of busy Friday nights and also Sunday mornings. He always wanted to talk about how I was afraid to fight him and how I was so weak and so on. He called me those classic 1980s derogatory terms that are now out of vogue. This eventually got old, so one Sunday morning, when he challenged me yet again, I said, "Let's fight then." He was surprised I said yes to a fight. We went outside to the parking lot and it had just rained. He asked again if I wanted to fight. I said I really did. I have heard all about how I can't fight and I'm afraid for like a month, so now I want to fight and end it already. He said he was just joking and he didn't really want to fight. I told him he wanted a fight and I was going to give him exactly what he wanted and had waited so long for. Now I didn't really want to hurt him. As rude as he had been, I saw him as sort of like my little brother. Annoying, sure, but not someone I want to injure. We work together after all, and it is a place I like to work. And yet I did want to let him know not to try this again. He looked truly frightened. I grabbed his squishy body and put him on a wet car hood and dried the car off from the rain. I used him like a chamois or one of those big car wash sponges. These were not nice cars. They were owned by dishwashers and cooks, making $3 to $7 an hour. Even so, I don't think I scraped any one of them. Or if I did, you couldn't tell. I buffed each car with this dishwasher, one after another. He was wiggly, but the friction was low, so honestly it wasn't all that much of a workout. He yelped a bit and seemed generally afraid. In the end, he was absolutely soaked. I was too, if only by proximity. He did me the favor of telling everyone about what had happened, and the general consensus was that it was funny, so I didn't face work consequences. After that, I got to wash dishes in peace. The last story is called Only Manager for Him. I was a union delegate at a large firm. The firm had 3 levels of discipline. Break the law, you get fired. Break company policy, first and final warning. And small events like being late for work, rudeness, poor work ethic, etc. had to be dealt with within 6 weeks. I have a union member called Ivan. He was late for work, left early, lazy, rude, and generally hopeless. The only person more hopeless than Ivan was his boss Karen. Ivan was in a role where he interacted with most other departments. There wouldn't go a day where Ivan did something wrong. In 1 year, he got 50 formal complaints about him. Karen did nothing about it. Finally, Karen is forced to act by a senior manager, and Ivan is called to a disciplinary meeting, citing the 50 acts. Ivan comes literally crying to me about how unfair this all is and it's bullying. I had little sympathy for him. He received a letter outlining the 50 incidents and HR policy on discipline. I attended the meeting with the HR, Karen and Ivan. They spent over an hour going through the 50 events. Ivan is stone cold silence throughout it all. Karen starts saying that we all have to obey the rules. Cue the malicious compliance by Ivan. Ivan interrupts her and says, I agree with you entirely, and since all these 50 events occurred all more than 6 weeks ago, I can't be in trouble for them, as per the company policy you gave me. He goes on, in fact, I like to lodge 50 complaints about my manager for failing to correct my behavior and breaching company rules by taking these issues to task over the 6 weeks time limit that is allowed. There was stunned silence as he dropped formal complaint letters about Karen and HR on the table. He got off and HR and Karen got a warning. This was repeated twice more, and Karen ended up getting fired. Ivan sought employment elsewhere after Karen was fired, as he told me he would be sacked under anyone else. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.